Welcome everybody to a new video. I'm out here doing my barefoot walk with Luna. The sun is down. There's not a whole lot of people around me. I love it out here when it's quiet. Quietude is something that many of us don't have, and it's something that, in my opinion, is essential to your health. Getting outside of your house, going for a fucking walk, find a creek to go walk, past. There's a creek right here, that's why I'm saying that. But just get outside, you guys. And don't just walk around the streets or up and down the streets. Find a place that you can turn into a power spot, a personal place where you can go to seek solitude from the insanity of the Matrix. It's essential. Quietude is so important. Why do you think you feel so much better when you go camping, when you get outside of the city? Well, you're rejuvenating, folks. For one, you're not surrounded by a bunch of electromagnetic fields. Two, you don't have a television, although I'm sure people have TVs nowadays when they go camping because everything's hyper-digitalized. But I'm sure you, the viewer of this message, the viewer of this video, can agree with me when I say that you feel a lot better when you wake up after you've been camping, right? Especially if you're sleeping in a tent. Well, you're grounded to the earth for one. You're around the trees, there's more oxygen. Your worries kind of disappear, right? You know how many times I've gone camping where I woke up feeling more refreshed than I had in years, and then a day or two later I'd go back into the city to go back home, and I'd wake up, even if I'd get 8-9 hours of sleep, and not feel anywhere near as rested. Solitude is crucial. That is why the inner temple is so important, folks. The inner temple is your fortress of solitude, kind of like Superman has his fortress of solitude. The inner temple exercise will allow you to make contact with the innermost regions of your mind, parts of your mind that you normally, in your day-to-day life, don't come into contact with because you're dominated by Luna, your conscious mind, during the hustle, if you will, of the day-to-day life, the grind, right? The inner temple cannot be underestimated. It is absolutely crucial. It is a fundamental foundation of what I teach here on this channel. Now, Philip Cooper is how I discovered the inner temple, but there's Rosicrucian orders, there's multiple magical orders and groups, etc., that have been doing the inner temple or a similar exercise long before Philip Cooper produced his first book. So it's not something that Philip necessarily should be given credit for, although I do give credit where it's due, but it's not like he invented this. So I've taken the basic rubric of what Cooper teaches about the inner temple, which is hardly anything, and I'll explain that in a minute, and I've created a system that is so fluent and so effective, an inner temple exercise, and I really need to rename it because it's more of a cathedral of the mind. And I plan on producing a course which will be available soon, hopefully by the end of the month, that you can purchase. That'll probably be 4 or 5 hours long, where I walk you through the inner temple. I explain all of it, how it works, etc. I've made my own system. When Philip Cooper talks about the inner temple, it's in a very fleeting manner. If you read The Magician, if you read The Inner Temple of Magic, if you read some of his other books, he explains the inner temple. He doesn't really go into great detail about the health benefits of it, though, and he doesn't really write that much about it. In fact, if you read The Magician, there's only a couple paragraphs about the inner temple, and it does not go into great detail about just how expansive it is, folks. So I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in my inner temple. There were times where I'd spend 4 or 5 hours in it at once, laying on a couch, traveling the inner portions of my mind and learning from myself and with myself. It is so absolutely crucial, ladies and gentlemen. You can deny it. You can act like it's not necessary, but it absolutely is, because we need a system of self-communication, a legitimate system of self-communication, because here's the thing, contrary to widespread and popular belief, people talk to themselves constantly. There is an internal dialogue operating behind your conscious recognition that dictates your thoughts during the day while you're awake, your emotions, you name it, and most people will go their whole life never realizing this. You are hearing a stream of thoughts in your head, and you're feeling a stream of emotions move through your emotional body that you think you're generating while you're awake. No. The thoughtlessness exercise will prove this to you, because you can sit back and observe your own thoughts or the thoughts while you're doing the thoughtlessness exercise as if you're watching a stream. You're the observer of the thoughts, not the thoughts. So you have to ask yourself, what the fuck are these thoughts that I'm thinking? Where are they coming from? Why do I keep feeling the way that I feel? Most people will go their whole life thinking that the inner dialogue and chatter that they hear on a constant daily basis, they're producing in the form of thoughts. No, this is the archon. I call it the archon, the internal dialogue, because the internal dialogue ends up steering your life. It leads you to make decisions. It controls you. The inner temple is a system that we use to purge that nonsense out of us. And so is the thoughtlessness exercise, because when you do the thoughtlessness exercise properly, you will do when you do the thoughtlessness exercise, you sit motionless and you try to empty your mind of all thoughts. You try to enter into a state of thoughtlessness. And what happens when you do that, if you do it properly, you come into contact with the internal dialogue. That internal dialogue is controlling your life. I call it the archon. These are foreign installations that need to be removed if you plan on regaining some of your mental sovereignty. Absolutely essential. Magic is a system of tools that we use to locate those foreign installations, the internal dialogue, and systematically, like a surgeon, remove them like cancers from a body. Once you get proficient at the inner temple, once you get proficient in the 4 exercises, you'll be able to, at any point in time, enter the inner temple even when your eyes are open. I'm in mine right now, talking to you with my eyes open. The inner temple will teach you visualization skills. It'll also teach you to trust yourself and your own inner wisdom, your own inner lamp. How many of you have an inner lamp here? This is a chaotic matrix grid, a very sophisticated mind control hologram that we're living in, folks. You need a system of self-communication. You need a system of interconnection with your own self and your body and your mind. The inner temple and the four exercises are just that. So let's take a walk-see through this beautiful area. And maybe we'll go up to 10 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. So, a lot of people, when they try to do the inner temple exercise, or especially the thoughtlessness exercise, or the motionlessness exercise is the one exercise that I teach that people have the most trouble with. When people try to do these inner exercises, which I call inner work, it often leads to a lot of frustration and irritation because most people have never really sat down in stillness. We are addicted to noise. We are addicted to movement, ladies and gentlemen. Your body is as well, so is your mind. When you try to sit motionless for 10 minutes without moving an inch, oftentimes people will get really hot, their body will. They'll itch, they'll get irritated. It's amazing how powerful just sitting motionless is for 5 minutes. Can you do it for 2 minutes? Without moving a muscle. You see, this is one of the most valid ways to gain control over your life, believe it or not. And no one's talking about this on YouTube. I have yet to find anyone else. And that's not a bragging right, it's just the truth. There's a lot of channels here on this platform that are absolute garbage. That may entertain you, but what do they give you at the end of the day? Sitting motionless for periods of time, training the body to be okay with that, and training the mind as well to be still, will allow you to clear the cobwebs of your life and allow you to experience a profound amount of untapped power. You will be able to tap into an endless reservoir of power if you can get control over your body's functions and your mind. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm still walking the razor's edge. I'm still fulfilling the path of the wounded healer. I am still on the hero's journey. So I am not judging people, and I am not trying to sound like some dictating asshole authority figure. I just care a lot. And sometimes the way I talk sounds like I'm being judgmental, but I just care a lot, ladies and gentlemen. I want to see you thrive. We all need to get out of this prison system. And this earth has become an Archon prison system. They are harvesting our energy. You see, the world does not work the way that you think it does, the way that you were led to believe. You know, we're sold a bill of goods at the beginning of our life, and it's solidified and reinforced by education. As we develop through the grades and graduate, as we go from first to third to fifth to sixth, etc. These are degrees of mind control to a large extent. And I'm not saying you can't learn good things at school, because hell, I learned a ton of great things at school. But ladies and gentlemen, you are taught a specific view of the world. And it is reinforced by your teachers. In order for you to pass the grades, you have to do reports on this shit. You have to study it. You have to integrate it into your mind. You have to accept it as belief, as gospel, and we all do. We have been led to believe that the world is a version of the world that it actually isn't. You see, we think that the world is just this basic place where you come and you get a house and, you know, you have a job and all this shit. And although that's cool, and I'm not judging people who want to live a simple life, there's much more to this reality than we've been taught, ladies and gentlemen. This is a gigantic, living, breathing, shamanic garden that we're living in, that is hyper sentient and aware of itself and communicating with itself all the time. Underneath my feet right now, there is dirt filled with minerals and fungal networks that is aware of the fact that I'm walking on it. A mass blanket of consciousness and sentience. These trees are aware of the fact that I'm walking by them. You see, in a state of Christ consciousness, or in a state of shamanic consciousness, through the imbibing of certain entheogenic sacraments, you can come into contact with the very sentient nature of trees and plants, the flora and the fauna. Our perception is in a very specific gear that keeps us looking at reality through a lens that's very tiny. Catch my drift? Certain entheogenic compounds can shatter that lens. Sorry, Luna, I just need you. Didn't mean to, baby. Certain entheogenic compounds and sacraments periodically remove the perceptual filter that's been put on us by culture. And that's why there's a propaganda campaign against shamanism, against sacraments. That's why the greatest things for you are oftentimes illegal, right? The forbidden fruit is often the best. Well, that's for sure the truth. So we're just walking, guys. I'm glad to have you here with me. If you've made it this far in this video, please leave a comment, ask me a question, or just leave something. If you like these videos, please hit the like button as well. I can't tell you how much a simple like helps with the algorithm. I'd love to have this message get bigger and more widespread, but I need your help. You know, there's a lot of people who watch my channel who tell me that they like my videos and they don't even hit the like button. Please. It takes a lot of time and effort to make these videos and to put them into the editor and all this stuff. I'd really appreciate it if you just hit the like button. But you see, I just walked away from that path I was on, and now I'm on concrete, and I already feel a shift in a negative direction in my emotional field, in my energy field. So we're going to go back into this, or onto this awesome little trail that just reeks of the Shire. I just totally get vibes of the Shire from this. And we're going to walk back in to this blanket of consciousness, all these plants, you know, these trees. It's beautiful. And there's a beauty in the night. I am a nocturnal creature. And you guys, I'll come out here and there's times where I'll hear an owl hoot and it'll fly by me and land in a tree right next to me. And like, there's just so much beauty out in nature. But the night, in my opinion, is most beautiful. In fact, I was thinking about it today, and I may sound like kind of a negative Nancy for saying this, but the weather here in California has been remarkably sunny, no breeze, really bright. The white trees are coming back, etc., which I absolutely love. But I woke up today at noon. I took my minerals. I drank some chaga mushroom. I took some fish oil. And I'm sitting outside and the sun's just like beaming down on my face. And I say to myself, God, I hate the day. Like, I just hate the day. And that sounds negative, but guys, I'm in the background. I can hear people working on their houses, jackhammers going, nail guns and shit. And it's not that I hate the day per se. It's not that I hate the light. I hate the fact that the matrix is most active during the day. It never shuts the fuck up. The phone's constantly ringing. There's people everywhere. You can hear people talking and blah, blah, blah. And although that's great and all, and again, I probably sound negative by saying this, when the sun goes down, There's a huge shift in my assemblage point, and it's like I actually come to life when the sun goes down. The more, and Bobby Hemmett said this once in a rant, and I highly suggest that everybody who likes my channel, if you haven't already, go check out Bobby Hemmett, BobbyHemmitt, I believe. Check out Dr. Reverend Phil Valentine as well. I studied those guys extensively in my late teens and early 20s. People like Layla Africa, Delbert Blair, Del Jones, etc. Tahuti Mahatma, Ursa Satepanra, all of those guys. Bobby Hemmett said one time, and I think he was doing a lecture on the Qliphoth, the dark side of the upright tree, the Kabbalistic tree, that is accessed through a sphere known as Doth, which is where Darth Vader comes from. The Doth Vader, the door to the dark side. Well, the Qliphoth is considered the dark side of the upright tree. But I believe he was doing a lecture on the Qliphoth. Let's turn around, Bug. And he said that the more conscious you become, the more you're going to hate that fucking sun. And Bobby Hemmett, at least at the time, if I remember right, was of the belief, sorry Luna, that the sun was an artificial sun that was placed here as some type of like a radiation mind control machine that was blocking the real sun, which I believe he referred to as Sirius, or not Sirius, I can't remember. Sirius you can actually see if you look up in the sky. But I can't remember off the top of my head, but that always rang kind of true to me. It's like, God, when the sun comes up, I feel a shift in my assemblage point, and it's not for the best. So again, you guys, if you can, try to walk the nocturnal life or the nocturnal path for a year in your life. And I think that you will experience profound beauty. And if you do take entheogenic compounds and sacraments, which I'm not recommending that you do, in my own personal experience, the night is the only time to do it, in isolation, in solitude, where you can hear your own thoughts. You don't want to be piercing the perceptual veil and shifting your perceptual lens and removing your perceptual rigidity during the day when people might come knocking on the door and trip you the fuck out, right? The night is a vast reservoir of power that is not being tapped into by most people. The lunar spheres. And the lunar spheres are intimately connected to the rising of Kundalini. The lunar spheres, to a large extent, are the ambassadors or the guardians of the astral plane. So, like right now, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a giant owl in this tree. And I love also, you guys, like there's this spot in California that I used to go when I smoked ganja. I'd go with my pipe alone at like 1 a.m. and go way the fuck out into the woods, where there was this spot that I found where there was all these dead, rotted trees, and I would get so stoned and just be there alone, feeling the cold air on my face and the moon beaming down on my skin, and just looking at all these dead, rotted trees and hearing the sounds of the night. It's so beautiful. And if you can make solace with that, you can greatly tap into that power. The absence of light, ladies and gentlemen. And I hate to say it to you guys, we've been lied to a lot about the sun in terms of it being beneficial for us. I'm not saying that, we absolutely do require sunlight. But there's a huge movement, especially in the raw foods community, etc., and in the conscious community. There's a huge movement to basically crisp yourself in the sun, the radiation of the sun. I used to be one of them. No, we don't need as much sun as we think we do. That's just my own personal opinion. You may think I sound crazy for saying that. But you see how when the sun goes down, when there's an absence of light, the mind kind of frees itself from its perceptual rigidity, and it opens up a little bit. This is why so many artists say that they can't really produce good quality art until the sun goes down, until the wee hours of the night. It's because the mass weight of combined human thought form egregores goes to sleep when people go to sleep on a mass level, and you're left alone. It's fucking beautiful, you guys. So, about half the year to 8 months of the year, I'm nocturnal. When I was in my 20s, I was completely nocturnal. It was 12 months a year. And I still managed to make it work, living in this delicate membrane between the solar spheres and the lunar spheres, where I was like walking in between two worlds. And the people around me probably thought I was nuts. Family, friends, etc., but it doesn't matter. You know? It's a really weird thing to go to sleep when people are rising. And it's another really weird thing when you become accustomed to the nocturnal path. And like once you get adjusted to it, you guys, once it becomes part of your circadian rhythm, that's when you really start to see the insanity of the day. Now, obviously, people have obligations, tasks, jobs, etc. And I'm not judging people that wake up in the morning. I mean, come on. There's times where I have to fucking make money to pay my rent. I pay bills. Don't try to act like I'm just some lucky person out here that's like a needle in the haystack and that no one else can do it. If I can do it, you can do it, folks. Let me tell you, if I can do it, you can fucking do it. There are ways for you to generate income with your own or through your own creativity. Tahuti Mahatma, before he was taken off of YouTube, had a video once that really has always stuck with me throughout the years. And I highly suggest that people look up Tahuti Mahatma. He said once that creativity is the precursor to abundance. It is so true. Tap into your creativity, folks, because through creativity, what you're most passionate about, and usually the thing in life that you're most passionate about is directly linked to your artistic expression and your creativity, your level of creativity. We are creative creatures, folks. Through your creativity, you can find ways to generate income. And when you generate income based off of using your creativity, you are fulfilled. You are fulfilled. You are fulfilled. So I don't make a whole lot of money. I really don't. But I managed to make enough to pay my bills, to pay my rent, to buy myself some nice little things here and there. I don't have much. I don't have hardly anything, but I have everything at the same time because less is indeed more. I have this beautiful dog next to me. I have this every day. I come here to this field and for 3 to 4 hours, I walk with the silence and solitude of my own mind. The absolute euphoria of walking alone at 1 a.m. with Luna when it's quiet like it is right now, even though you can hear the freeway. The euphoria of hearing the trees rustle and then seeing a gigantic owl land 6-7 feet from me is far more, in my opinion, than some lavish lifestyle. I'm not saying that I'm against that because my God, you guys, I mean, if I had millions of dollars, I'm sure I'd have a beautiful, nice car and a house. But I'd sure as hell do things differently with my money than the people that have money. I'm not saying all people with money do bad things because that's bullshit. Many people with money do great things, but I think you catch my drift. Just a little random rant here, folks. So, when I was younger, in my early 20s, I separated myself from the day and I entered into the night, and I separated myself from a lot of my connections with people and tasks that I had thought that I needed to keep fulfilling, and I embraced my own unique path of isolation. I became selfish, I'm not going to lie, because I knew I had work to do, and I knew that I couldn't get that work done if I was constantly bombarded with obligations and tasks to constantly do things with people and this, that, and the other. And I used to just go out and walk between 12 and 3 a.m. in the morning alone. No music or anything, sometimes music, but I'd get so stoned And I tell you what, there's kind of like a fear factor of sorts when you get out there in the middle of nowhere and you're alone with your thoughts and you get high, you know, like, but I look back and I think of all the beauty of all of those times where I do things like that. And I still do those things, but I don't smoke cannabis anymore. I haven't in years. But I'm just sharing with you some of my own experiences, you know, things that are still hold value to me to this day. But yeah, you guys, you can also, I have a ritual that I've created for exiting the day. It's a lunar spell of sorts, a ritual where you create a holy water blessed by the moon's rays at certain times. And this water is then used to make a Damiana tea with blue lily and a few other constituents. And there's a ritual where you imbibe in this to exit the day. It's a ritualized form of passage, if you will. It's a vampiric path to a large extent. And I'm not talking about Hollywood vampirism, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about the path of the I've talked about vampirism, energetic vampirism in live streams, so I'm not going to get into some huge rant about it right now because I'm actually planning on wrapping this one up in a minute or two. Maybe we'll save that for an upcoming rant. I will, however, say that the vampire is a heavily misunderstood archetype, largely based off of how Hollywood has bastardized it. The vampire is a death dealer, is a death defier, and at times a death dealer. But the vampire is able to defy the limitations of modern folk based on his or her alchemy and constant immersions into infinity through his or her magic. And I'm not going to get any further into that, ladies and gentlemen, but the vampire gains its power through the shifting of the assemblage point as well as the ability to master lucid dreaming. The vampire feeds while lucid dreaming, folks, in the astral plane. There's so much more that could be said. But, man, it's just like I think about my life. And sometimes I'm so hard on myself because I'm constantly trying to shatter the veil. Like, sometimes, like, the last couple of days, I've really sat back and I've in my inner temple and I've been like, I tap into the God force, and the God force within the inner temple is like, Brandon, calm down. You've done so much. Let me show you. And then this, like, I'm taken through the God door in the inner temple. And the last couple of nights, there's just been this kaleidoscope Rolodex of memories of all of the effort that I've put into my alchemy and all of the struggle and all of the strife that has come from walking the razor's edge. And I never gave up. I don't give myself enough credit. And there's a good chance if you're watching this, if you're on the razor's edge, if you've been walking this type of path, you probably don't give yourself enough credit as well. And that's a symptom of the wise, because if we give ourselves too much credit, we become comfortable, right? Those of us who walk the razor's edge are constantly entangled in a non-physical sensation of discomfort, because discomfort is what keeps us moving. But to quote Junior Soprano, you take your pleasures as you can. You can, or you do. Like, this is not the path of awakening the dragon. Contrary to what most love and lighters are saying who have never experienced Kundalini, the path of awakening the dragon is one of darkness. Darkness is not evil. Darkness is the antithesis of the norm, right? Once you awaken Kundalini, you realize that you are trapped in a self-sustaining, archon-controlled hologram of mind control. Once you awaken Kundalini, you also need rest. You need rest and reintegration and integration. And the night is just that. It is like a energy pad where you can rest. You see, people ask me all the time, how do you integrate with Kundalini after you've experienced it? Well, folks, I hate to say it, you're going to need a lot of time alone, and time is your best friend. If you've recently experienced Kundalini within the last year, if it's an authentic Kundalini awakening, I'm not going to lie to you. Your life's going to be hell for a while. The integration phase and the dismantling of the ego after a Kundalini awakening, it's very difficult to integrate with reality. It takes time. It takes introspection. The nocturnal life, the nootropic formulas, certain racetams, etc., can really help your brain and your body, get into the right gear, because there's going to be some trauma. Watch my channel, reach out to me, leave comments, email me. We're all in this together. My channel might be one of the most extensive Kundalini studies out there. I think it is on YouTube. I mean, there's some great people out there making content about Kundalini, but anyways, I'm going to wrap this one up, you guys. I love you all. Stay safe out there. Anoint your forehead with holy oil before you leave the house. We're living in the damn land of the dead. Be careful. Take the minerals. Get on the ascorbic acid protocols, 1 to 3 grams a day with a little bit of lysine. You don't have to take the lysine. I take the lysine in the colder months, so I'm actually going to stop now that things are warming up. But the ascorbic acid, the magnesium, the alpha brain, the nootropics, everything that you need, we talk about on this channel. It's all free. Peace be with you.